Folks, engineering is probably the most important game system in Star Citizen. And if you're going to play Star Citizen, you kind of got to come to some kind of understanding with that. It has been advertised and talked about since 2013. It has been regularly developed since 2020. It's a big deal. I would put it on par with something like server meshing if you were looking at the gameplay aspect of things rather than backend. But this week, rather this month, it's coming to players. It's actually happening. And it's a little undercooked. Not gonna lie, but there's a lot that we can get from the way it's been acting and from what CIG's been saying about it, and I've heard the whispers and murmurs. There's a little bit of controversy in the way that specifics are being handled. While I haven't dived too much into the document released around engineering, I wanted to start with this video that they have just put out to kind of explain this gameplay to us, and we can discuss. I think there's a lot that they can do with this system. They are treading very lightly, actually quite heavily, on Star Wars Galaxy's energies, and I think there's a good system here. Just getting out ahead of the argument, obviously I understand that wear is probably something that should not be unrepairable, but I think there are some caveats there. Repair at specific areas, take a lot of resources, whatever it might be. We'll get into those details. I want to start with the video though, so you guys can actually get some eyes, ears, and maybe even your nose on what actually is going to be happening, and then we'll talk more about this as we go. Thanks for joining me for this. Hope you enjoy.
So we've been talking about engineering in one way or another for several years now, whether that's ISC.
I am really looking forward to see what you all will be doing with it.
Or SCL.
Is engineer this absolutely enormous behemoth thing that's going to ruin everybody's experience?
If you're into that, yes.
Or even two different CitizenCon presentations.
We already talked about it several times, but wait, there's one more thing.
When
I think it's actually more than two. No, it was 22 and 23 and 24, I think. It would have been even better if they had shown all the times they said it was going to be coming fairly soon. But I appreciate the recap.
Dressed up as a late-night television host vampire and dumping sand throughout the LA office without permission.
Don't ever do this again! They're begging me not to continue! But we will show them! Count Disco does not know how to listen!
Yes, it was a different time. But over the years, the systems have continued to evolve.
Oh man, we love you, dude.
Now, after 7 videos, several Arena Commander and Tech Preview tests, and the current PTU cycle underway now, we've never been closer to bringing the next evolution of spaceflight to life ahead of our intended release later this month.
There are very few game systems in Star Citizen that I'm actually sick of talking about, because there's generally information coming out about them, or they're still far away to the point where like it's fun to speculate and stuff. But engineering is one of those things that I'm like, I was looking at making a video this week and I'm like, man, what else do I even say about this anymore? We've covered this a lot, and it makes sense because, like I said, it's so important. But it's hard to overstate how monumental this is going to be for Star Citizen's gameplay.
Go through every detail once again of what you're already experiencing on the PTU now. I sat down with Torsten for this short discussion of what I'm calling Inside Star Citizen, Talking with Torsten. The 8th show about engineering before it's been released. And that's why we didn't do another CitizenCon thing this year.
Before it's been released,
probably
there's going to be more of these.
Turn it to just Talking with Torsten. Yeah.
I would love that B-roll without all the stuff on screen.
So, right off the bat, it's been a year since we did that last ISC on engineering. What's the same? What's changed?
We didn't change a lot. What did change is the main direction of the feature itself.
Just the main direction.
Just the main direction.
That's the point.
Technically, everything that you had in the Arena Commander, everything that we talked about still stands true. So everything that we discussed, all the intentions we had, still stands true. We had before like the direction of things have to happen. You have to be on your toes. You have to be very reactive to everything that is happening. We noticed that this is not particularly fun. So
just giving people something to do is not enough.
Giving people something to do can be really fun, but it pulls too much attention to these rather than of the gameplay that you should experience.
Okay, I want to get out ahead of this right now because I can see where Torsten is going, but I think it's very good to take a second and realize that he's he's actively saying, like, the players gave us the feedback. We understand you guys don't want chores, and therefore we dialed it back. The point of engineering, in my opinion, has always been ship maintenance. It's been the long-term effect, right? Not necessarily the in-battle stuff. That's fun, and I think that's the kind of like energy from Sea of Thieves I appreciate in combat. But that's a very specific scenario. I think for the most part, a lot of people want to feel like they're taking care of something, but they don't necessarily want to feel like that something is asking to be taken care of. You want to notice reasons that you would want to take care of it rather than feeling you're forced to. And I think that's what he's trying to say here. And going forward, I think folks should feel confident that they can give feedback on this kind of thing. And at least to a certain extent, there's going to be some give. We'll see how far they actually go with that, though.
So the direction that we got was, and we are now acting on, is that engineering gameplay is there to extend the lifetime of the ships.
That's how it should be.
Rather than making your life miserable on a ship.
It's a nice change.
I think it might be worth it, yes.
Actually surprised that needed to be a change, to be honest.
Let's refresh ourselves on the basics of how it works for people who haven't gone back and watched the 7 previous videos. The first thing is preemptive or preventative stuff, the stuff that happens before things happen. Tell me how you use engineering to prepare your ship.
One of the main things right now that you have to do, or you should do, is prepare for travels. So you should buy fuses ahead of time.
People hate the sound of that. Just remember, guys, this is being designed for a game that doesn't play like we play now. I know first thing you're thinking is like, I'm already spending 30 to 40 minutes preparing for travels, but we're not even going to be starting travels, you know? Just keep in mind, like, the game, the way it's going to work, you're going to be starting your sessions on board your ship somewhere out in space. So most of like, when he says starting travel, it doesn't necessarily mean every play session. Until we get to that point, this will probably be kind of annoying if you're not keeping your stuff up to date, or if you're just logging off with things basically broken.
So that you can replace them once they break on the ship. You should buy enough filled RMC canisters so that you are able to repair the components on site.
Going through his hand.
So this is like the prep work, the first, hopefully, 5 minutes, if we can make something work.
He's trying to get vendors added to the spaceports so that you don't have to run around. We'll see if we end up with that or not. I'll say it, you don't have to say it.
Give me delivery services.
For bigger ships that allow components to be swapped out in fight or in your travels, you can also prepare by buying components and then storing them on the ship.
Dude, the game is so not ready for this. Like, we need cargo, like, trellises where you can store ship weapons and stuff. We need things that you can put components into to transport together. We need ways to easily move these kinds of equipment in and out of ships and store them and, like, have them as extras. There's a lot that needs to go into this besides just the gameplay of it. I hope they talk about that here, but also I'm hoping we see movement on that next year.
So first part of engineering resource network is preparation. In the single seat ships, the fighters and stuff, does this still affect their day-to-day life?
No. So yes, but no. so engineering gameplay affects everything. What engineering gameplay does there is that it extends the lifetime. So imagine you are on your single-seater fighter, you're not doing too well, and you barely survive. Now you can use the MFD to repair the components that allow you to travel back home. So this is the extension of the lifetime of the ship that you invested time in.
And so then for ships with interiors up to the bigger multi-crew ships, the next big change with engineering is a damage to your components.
So on the ships with interior, you will have access to the components. By having access to the components, there's the chance for you to repair on-site or repair while they are
I cannot wait until I wish they would show us a preview of what the UI is supposed to look like, because the UI is just, it still looks like debug UI to me, to be honest.
Normally you would die in the game that is like at 4.4, but with engineering gameplay, You would be able then to point the repair gun at the component, bring it back from 0 health to full health, so you get your power plant back.
They're phrasing this much better now. Like, all of the things he's saying is like, this is good, it's going to help your health, it's going to extend your life. I feel like that was still the point before. This is just doing better with the messaging.
The fire, repair afterwards, and then you're ready to go. And that scales now with the amount of people that you can fit on your ship. So yes, the next chapter of engineering is repairing and exchanging of components and potentially exchanging fuses.
And it's not just managing the components, it's managing the relays. How do the relays work?
They changed a little. So if you recall, in the early tech preview and even the early Arena Commander mode, relays were like the weak point of any ship. We thought back in the day that this is a really, really good idea. And to a degree, it would be. But with ships where some relays are placed in a very accessible position for getting shot at some point there will be the expert players that will just target those and you will be rendered useless within a blink of an eye, which disagrees with the statement of we have to bump up the TTK here. So relays and fuses are still relevant.
Consequences,
but
man.
If a relay does not hold any fuses anymore.
This game, as it becomes a game, and it's definitely aiming for a wide variety of people, the consequences are not as consequency as they were in concept. Could be good or bad, but it's definitely a noticeable change in the way the design is going.
Or basically the ship cannot support the full amount of power that the power plant would allow you to have. It makes sense to repair or restock the fuses.
But it's not going to stop your coal. It's not going to prevent doors from opening anymore. No. If you don't effectively address the needs of your components and everything, it can now generate a new hazard for the interiors of spaceships: fire.
Warning, fire detected.
So fire can happen in several ways in our game. So one aspect is exterior-induced damage to your ship that can cause a fire. Components will trigger fire based on hits from bullets. So energy weapons are right now the most effective one in setting interiors on.
Man, they got to get that graphic figured out because this just looks weird.
Fire if they hit the components on the interior, versus ballistics, they have a very small chance of igniting the components. And the next big thing...
So energy weapons are more likely to make fires on the ship? That's interesting.
Bullets. So energy weapons are right now the most effective one in setting interiors on fire if they hit the components on the interior.
If they hit the components.
Ballistics, they have a very small chance of igniting the components. And the next big thing is mismanagement of.
So it sounds like fire is really just a component thing. You're not just going to have fires breaking out randomly in your walkways and stuff.
Your ship. So if you make your ship run too hot, so if you, for example, think you don't need the full power on your coolers, that means that all the other components start to overheat. We have a system in place that basically has the auto shut off of some of the components, but sometimes that might not be enough. So the temperature rises so high that the component itself incinerates, and then you have a fire due to this systemic approach. And then the third type is malfunctions. These are induced by the wear and tear. So the higher the wear and tear of the component, the higher the chances is in different stages that they can trigger an ignition.
You've repaired it a few times, but you haven't replaced it.
Correct, yes.
And in dealing with fire, how do you deal with fire?
So you have the extinguisher that we now...
It's interesting. The wear and tear is a really big part of this whole thing. And this whole debate as to how much is too much to make somebody care about their ship. Fire starting from wear and tear being low makes sense. The idea though is, can you get that? Can you raise that wear and tear?
Placed in every ship, which is the active counter to that. The more fire extinguisher point to the same fire, so they're much quicker. That's the most straightforward way. The next way is venting the ship, and for the release, the way that you will be able to do that is by daisy chaining doors.
I did that. I actually did this on the Perseus because there's 3 doors leading from the cockpit, or the bridge, out to the outside world. I had to open one door, and then open another door, and the person in the bridge was still telling me that the temperature was fine, atmosphere was fine, and then I opened that third door, and suddenly the entire section was depressurized. And it's nice, dude. It's nice to have systems actually functioning like that.
You have to do basically open the door next to the next door, so that you at some point reach a door that leads to the exterior
And vent the atmosphere.
and vent the atmosphere out.
Sounds like when you're the second player playing Gyromite back in the day. So yeah, repairing with replacement components and fuses if you have interiors, repairing those components and replacing those fuses if they take damage, and then dealing with fires. That's essentially the engineering loop that's on its way in 4 or 5. We've recently been in tech preview testing. How's that been going?
The feedback that we received is helped us a lot, and helped us also to make some points in some of the changes that we have been seeing now between the different tech previews, which is really good because it brings the gameplay to exactly what we want to have, which is extending lifetime of ships and not being an annoyance, a constant annoyance. One thing that had to come
I think that's just
with
that's the biggest thing, man, is like people think that this is being introduced as a system that's supposed to be anti-fun. It's a system that expands functionality and yes, comes with consequences that aren't as fun, but like I think the benefits of being able to work and maintain our components and our ship way outweigh the ability not to. I mean, like he said, if at this point where you would normally explode, you instead have a component that goes down and is bad, like if you want to feel like you've exploded like you used to, then backspace and die and respawn and claim your ship, because that's what would have normally happened. For the rest of us, I think it is nice to be able to at least try to repair, to bring other components along with you and replace them, to scrape the hull off of another ship and then use it to repair yours while you're out. And like this just creates more ability to have cool gameplay. They should totally balance it, but like I think the biggest thing they did here was just figure out that messaging on this is more about improving gameplay than creating a system that is meant to hold you back necessarily. Maybe they did change that in gameplay and stuff, and I'm sure like little nuances did change there, but I feel like that was always the angle they were going for. Maybe I just put that in my own head.
Exactly what we want to have, which is extending lifetime of ships and not being an annoyance, a constant annoyance. One thing that had to come with the engineering gameplay is a full rebalance. So a full rebalance of all weapons, of all ship components, of like basically how our character, the ship, functions in the game. I think we are approaching right now a good baseline for the release. So I'm hoping that we get some more testing in, because the longer we have the tech preview running, the more we see what needs still to be updated. So
now, at the time that this airs, because we're recording this rather early in November, we'll be on PTU. We'll be on PTU with full-blown testing for an intended December release, which is really exciting. Ending the year with a new star system wasn't quite enough. We want to end the year with this gameplay system. It's going to fundamentally change every spaceship in the game that we've been talking about for 5 years at this point.
Perfect for a holiday break.
As far as every ship, we say it will affect every ship, and not every ship equally at the time of this release. My understanding is there's about 80 ships at the point of 4.5 release that have everything. There's about 30 ships in various states of conversion. Some have engineering screens but don't have physical components. Some have physical components but don't have engineering screens. Through all of it, you'll be able to use engineering in one way or another. Last thing you want to say to folks as they're testing it in PTU now and they see this ahead of its intended release before the end of December?
Yeah, so I definitely need to shout out like the people that have been sticking around with me and with everyone involved in that feature. It's a huge group, but the core people that really deserve a lot of like praise are Biome, Guillermo, and Scott. Those are my key personnel that without them we wouldn't be here. So with that out of the way, the feature is made to stay. This is Star Citizen. This is the definition of Star Citizen. This is what we always wanted, and finally we have it.
Where we've been talking about going for the last 5 years, yeah.
It doesn't mean, though, that what you see right now is set in stone. So we appreciate all the feedback that we receive. We are aware that we don't deliver something that is perfect right away. So we need your help, as always, to point out the things where we can still improve. We are not done yet with engineering gameplay.
Yeah, this is super early. I think they're gonna really dial this in based off of our feedback.
There are still things that we have on the list, and we are consciously holding back those ideas right now because we think we already gave a lot and we are a bit scared of overwhelming the players a bit.
Yeah.
And now we want to observe you playing that and basically figuring out what still needs to be added or even what we need to adjust.
Well, that's Torsten Lyman on engineering, available on PTU right now. If you haven't jumped in and given it a try, do so. And yeah, as we head towards our December release for 4.5.
It's a big moment.
Oh, and as a coda, since we recorded this, we've also decided to add armor into this release as well. So keep a lookout for the upcoming engineering guide that'll go out with the release of 4.5 to learn more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all again next year.
Pretty, it's an exciting time for this kind of thing to be happening. I'm gonna go take us to that guide real quick. Let's take a look at some of the stuff they were saying here. The big thing that I've been seeing talked about, now I haven't looked at this super diligently myself, but the big thing I've been hearing talked about is the idea that Star Citizen's wear and tear system is, there's one key aspect that it can hinge on. You have health within your component, and you have, oh boy, where was this? Here we go. Okay, this is kind of actually a little hard to find. I'm not sure if this is the official document or just a post that they did, and they'll update this with something that was a little more like the medical page we have. But this shows us some various things about how this is all going to work. I'll leave this linked in the description of this video for you guys. But it's worth looking through and reading. It's got a lot of detail: power generation, thermal management, defense systems, navigation, propulsion, life support, whole bunch of stuff. Culminating in health. Health as a percentage, health as a system, health of your ship. The biggest thing this is doing is it's taking a health bar that defined your entire ship and it's splitting it across the different components. And what you're going to have is damage and component health versus actual wear. Now I'm going to read the wear system for you here. They describe damage as being caused by combat, collisions, fires, and direct actions against components. These can be repaired and restored to a pre-damaged state using multi-tools and materials. Wear, on the other hand, is accumulated through normal use over time and will gradually degrade maximum component performance. Wear damage cannot be repaired through the multi-tool use, which means over time the only way to restore functionality will be to replace the worn out components or repair it at a station. Operating time, high stress operations like combat and high power usage, such as probably heavy duty mining on multiple lasers at once and stuff like that. Environmental exposure will also affect component wear. If you go back to, I think maybe 2019 possibly, like it's earlier than this one. I don't even think this was the first. We've been hearing about this for a while. Aesthetic and sort of just cosmetic degradation and wear and tear has been a thing that's been a constant discussion point since, I want to say, at least 2019. But here's a 2022 look at the same thing, just talking about biome accumulation, mainly on
because before
armor.
We decide to work on a feature of any kind, I'm going to share with you some of those ideas from the presentation I recently gave to CR and other directors before any of the work had started. Now, disclaimer, Jared said you'd find it interesting, so if it's not, blame him. So for those of you who don't know, biome is weather, and accumulation is the effect that weather has on the materials.
So this is not just something that's affecting ships or components, but it is a overall system in the game that's being applied to ships right now. This is going to affect your bases, your armor, your weapons. You've seen how weapons can also degrade and eventually misfire. It's the same thing. The big key here, though, is this. Wear damage cannot be repaired through multi-tool use and only can be restored by replacing the worn out component or repairing at a station. Repairing at a station is the key. Now, on one hand, if wear was permanently damaging and we had this system that was based fully on entropy and our items disappeared at some point no matter what, this would be like Star Wars Galaxies, a celebrated game, definitely a game that did things a little differently and it was phenomenal for it, but also maybe not as mainstream a game as Star Citizen is trying to go, not as forgiving of a game. And so if you don't want to be able to lose the components due to wear, I understand then if they said there are certain space stations that can repair wear. And really the point of wear is to make sure that you are at least keeping up with long-term maintenance. Let's say that you lose 1% of your wear every 30 minutes that you're actually using that thing. Whether it's shields, whether it's a thrust, or whether it's your power supply. You could be in the ship, but if you're not using that, it's not being worn down. 30 minutes per 1%. It's like 5,000 hours, I think. Is it? I don't actually know. It's a lot of time though. And obviously, as they've said here, with like maximum performance being used and different stuff being done, maybe if the damage gets more intense on your component, then the wear wears down faster. But ultimately, if they're tying things like misfires and glitches to your wear, and they allow people to still repair that wear at space stations, it will still give people a reason to not want low wear on their components. Thus, a reason to pay attention to long-term maintenance. It's not necessarily giving you a tax or a reason to look at that number and understand things are getting worse. But if your components start to just not work sometimes when you need them to work, or they hiccup a little bit when you're booting up your quantum drive, knowing exactly why that's happening and going and taking care of that is a gameplay mechanic. So I think that the wear system is a good idea. But I do think that this idea of being able to repair wear is also important if they're going for something that's a little more forgiving than, say, Star Wars Galaxies. Here they do say, wear system notes all components can currently be replaced or repaired at stations, while size 1 and 2 components can be manually replaced while in a flight, while in flight size 3 and larger components need to be repaired or replaced while docked at a station. This is wear system notes. So they're, I think, trying to say that wear can be repaired. And I think that's a big sticking point for people. I see a very interesting system that is dependent on people constantly wanting to update because crafting is what makes the best components, and eventually you might lose those components if you don't pay attention. And let's be honest, most of us don't pay attention. I look forward to seeing how this rolls out. Like I said, there's a lot to read here about engineering. I'm not going to take you all the way through it. I think that the best thing they've done here is finally get some proper messaging on what the heck engineering is going to do for players outside of just fires and misfires and glitches. They're finally making it clear to people that this is a beneficial system and it's going to help the game feel more like you're playing an actual living game. Yeah, it's going to be weird because it's change and it's going to make things a little more difficult, but like that's how a game is made, you know? Consequences and benefits all come over time, and we get to live them out in real time. Either way, I'm rambling. This is engineering. I hope you got something out of this, and I'm looking forward to this. Keep an eye out. I'll have gameplay on this on Space Tomato Plays, and I'm probably going to put out something big on this weekend on the main channel. So catch you later. Have a good one.